Hello everyone and welcome. Today I would like to show you how to disassemble and repair motor starter. It's a Valeo D6RA motor starter. It's quite common for many European brands, for Opel, Peugeot, Renault, BMW and other among many years. This particular one is from Opel Corsa 1.2. Well, you can see that it's D6RA because the number starts with D6RA. After that we have 293, which is the exact number of the casing for the motor starter. So 293 is for Opel and just for exact types of Opel. And D6RA means that they have common motor part. This part is quite common. The housing is usually different. Also the actuator might be a little bit different. Well, of course, the cars have different gearbox, so they have to have a different housing. They have to have this part a little bit different. But the motor is the same among different types of D6RA. And disassembling D6RA might be most probably the same for all types of this motor starter. Okay, so what are the main parts of the motor starter and how it works? First of all, we have a 12 volts and the ignition, and it goes to solenoid. The solenoid moves the actuator. This actuator is actually here. Whenever the 12 volts gets to the solenoid moves the actuator, and moving the actuator causes the sliding pinion to move towards the gearbox and engage in the gearbox. From the other side, the 12 volts from the other side of the solenoid, the 12 volts goes to the brushes. The brushes, which are in here, deliver the electricity to the armatures, and in this way the magnets in the armature starts spinning. And here we have planetary gearing, which changes very fast movement of armature into a slower movement but a bigger torque. Inside we have a sliding pinion that is engaged with the clutch. Later I will show you what is the clutch for. And that's it. That's the main parts of the motor starter. Three types of common failures and the way to diagnose them. Okay, so if you get into your car and you turn the ignition and nothing happens, most probably there are three types of failures. First, very common failure is that our brushes are worn out and they don't touch the armature. I think I have here a worn out brush. Here is the worn out brush. It's short and it doesn't touch the armature here. It's too short. The brushes are like the brake pads. They wear out, and after 150,000 kilometers they are gone. They have to be exchanged anyways. So it's whenever you do anything on this motor starter, it's a good idea to change the brushes, because otherwise you will have to do it some other time anyways. The second failure, when the motor doesn't move at all, is that the bushings, which are in a couple places of every motor starter, lost their roundness. They lost their shape. They become oval, and because of that, armature doesn't spin around, but it spins in oval, and it cannot move in that way. So that's the second thing. But bushings are also very cheap. The third common failure for not moving motor is that the magnets disassembled from the motor casing and they start to move with solenoid with the armature. It's very not good, and all those three types are very common for the motor not to start. Second type of the problem is that you have some kind of weird sounds when the motor is engaging the gearbox. Usually the problems are the solenoid, which doesn't move, the actuator, or the shaft. Something is blocking the shaft here and it's dirty, and the pinion doesn't move towards the gearbox when it should. So it just moves halfway and it touches the gearbox halfway, and then you hear that very not nice sound. The third common failure for the starters is the weird sounds whenever the engine already started. When the engine started, it spins much faster than the starter can spin, and that's why you have a clutch here. The clutch allows the pinion to spin faster than the starter itself for the time when the pinion is going away. And if the clutch is broken, the pinion has to spin as fast as the engine that is already running, and in this case the motor starter will make some terrible sounds, and of course it will use up very quickly. So the tools that we are going to need to disassemble this very simple motor starter is a couple screwdrivers. It's a T20 socket, it's a 8mm socket. We will need some drill and 13mm socket. Quick way to diagnose your motor starter when it's already out of your car. You need a 12 volts power supply from the battery. You put the negative on a casing. And how about 12 volts? Well, you can put it on a small bolt here, and it will cause the actuator, the solenoid, to actuate the pinion. The pinion will move toward the gearbox, just. But if you provide 12 volts on this screw and this screw at the same time, the motor starter will also spin and the pinion will engage in gearbox. If something is not working, you can diagnose it this way. It's the fastest and the easiest, and when the motor starter is out of the car. We will start disassembly with changing the brushes. Brushes are of course here, and it's the most common failure because they are using up as bad pads, as I said before. Something you have to know for sure is that whenever you are undoing some kind of old bolts, always brush them, clean them first, and put some kind of lubricant on them, let it soak a little bit. Such stuff like starters, suspension, and other things that are prone to atmospheric circumstances are usually worn out heavily, and those bolts are very small and they snap very quickly, so always clean them up. For instance, this solenoid looks beautiful, but if you have a couple years old starter, the solenoid will look like this. And trust me, these bolts looks fine, but this one snapped inside and had to be changed. So remember to clean the threads, always clean the threads. In some other type of starters, that bolts are long and they go inside the casing all over the starter, and they snap so easily somewhere in the middle. It's always a huge problem. In this motor it's quite easy. We take 8mm socket and we undo it. My job is a little bit easier because I already undid them before. So we have a nuts, 2 small nuts, and we have 2 small spacers. We open the end cap. And what we see here is already a brand new set of brushes. So we have one brush inside here and second brush inside here. It's a spring which keeps them inside and pushes them against the armature as they use up. They are constantly pushed to the armature. And here are very important things. We have isolator here and isolator here. If you wouldn't put them here, you would put live 12 volts from battery straight here and would burn most probably, so don't do that. Here the connection is quite easy. You just take this off from this side, and here is 13 millimeters and you have it already out. And what you have to do now is to lift the spring, undo the brush, and do the same on the opposite side. Well, your brushes will be much shorter and it will be much easier to take them out. Okay, so that's how the new brushes look like, and that's how the old brush looks like. Well, they're not so much used up, but still I wanted to change them. It seems like they had half-life left. Nonetheless, we put them aside. Okay, and we just take the end cap, and we can already see armature, but we have to do here one more thing. We take out this cap, it's quite tight, surprisingly. Oh, come on. You remove the cap. You have a C-clip here, so you just lift it. Watch out, if it falls inside you won't take it out because there are magnets inside. You have two spacers, two of them, the shiny one is inside. And from this side, that's it. Actually, this is the easiest fix. The brushes are the easiest fix. You can actually do it on your car without having the starter taken off. Next, we take off the main housing. We have one medium-sized bolt here and three big bolts all around. Of course, be gentle with your bolts. Mine are already undone before, so it's much easier. Okay, in my case the housing is quite loose, but when I was doing it for the first time I had to use a piece of wood to hit it like this to take it off. Okay, so it's just a casing, and that's how it looks inside. We have a solenoid, the spring, and the spring helps the lever to move to its back position whenever, well, you can see what the solenoid does. Whenever we have problems with the terrible sounds when the motor starts, it's something with this mechanism. Okay, so let's undo it actually. We have a pin, and there are 2 bolts here, small bolts as well, T20. We undo the small bolts. Two bolts pin. The solenoid starts to move downwards. This way we can undo it. Actually, I don't remember how it goes. Maybe somehow like this, or this way. Oh, I think it goes this way. Yep, you can undo the lever like this. So we already have this apart, we have this apart, and on purpose I'm not opening it yet before, because I would like to show you that here were 2 rivets. Here was 1 rivet, and here is the second rivet. Actually, you can see the ending of the rivet still here somewhere. Yeah, it's here, the rivet. The rivets are very small, but still you will have to drill them. 2 small rivets. As soon as you drill the rivets, you can open the motor, because you did the circlip here. Here are the internals of the motor. Of course, whenever you disassemble these parts, you will have to clean them thoroughly. This thing has to shine inside, as here already. You see, it's quite clean inside. You can use petroleum ether to clean those parts. And this one won't look like that nicely. You will have to put it on a drill, this side on a drill, and clean this. Clean it thoroughly with some kind of sandpaper. Those things have to shine. Also, this part has to be open. We have here I call it the gearbox. This is just a cap. I should open it. Okay, open the cap, and here is just the gearbox. You should open it, clean it thoroughly, and put a new grease inside. Also, you have a C-clip here. I don't know if you see. It's hard to catch light. Here is C-clip. If you wanna change the clutch, you should take the C-clip as well. And that's it. These are all the parts of the starter. You can see that this is spinning separately. If it's broken, it won't spin well. Assemble is just the reverse of disassemble. If you would like to change the clutch, you will have to get rid of this part. Well, this is a ring, and underneath there is a C-clip. So to do it, I don't know if you can see that the C-clip is open right here. There's a space. To do it properly, you will have to keep it this way and hit it with the hammer from this side. The ring will go down, and then you'll be able to take off the C-clip. You take off the C-clip, you then take off the ring, and you take off the clutch. Also, if you have problems with the bushings, one is here. one is in the housing here, and the third one I believe is here as well inside. Yeah, you can see it here. But it's already not quite easy job to do it. You need some kind of saw, and if they're round, I wouldn't bother with that. But they usually are not, so pay attention at least if they are good or not. Whoa. Ojej.